When you hear about zoophilia or zoo sadism, what animals usually come to mind? Dogs, horses, cats, maybe? I feel that when talking about people who are mentally ill enough to want to get freaky with an animal, it's usually one out of a handful of domesticated animals that they talk about screwing, as zoophiles typically only go for animals that they can get easy access to. Never mind animals that won't maul them on sight. This is exactly why you don't see many bear sexuals out there. A big aspect of zoophilia is control. Being able to utilize control over that animal and use them for sexual pleasure. Zoo sadists in particular relishing in the suffering of their victims to an even more fucked degree than your usual zoophile. Now, don't get me wrong, both zoophiles and zoo sadists sexually harm the animals they engage with. It's just that zoo sadists go even further to the point of gaining pleasure from the death of their victims, rather than just harming them alone. All they desire is an animal or pet they can assert themselves over, whether it be a dog, a horse, or more recently, even a fish. There isn't much public information concerning what I'm about to discuss, but I will at least share what's available, as when I first heard about this, I genuinely thought it was a joke. I thought it was something Vaporeon related and that it was just the furry Twitter joke of the week, but no. It is so much worse. But before we get into the act itself, let me introduce you to the alleged perpetrators, that being a married furry couple by the user handles of Mr-Teriyaki and Acid Raincloud. From what I could gather, Acid Raincloud is a furry artist, with both he and Mr-Teriyaki being fursuit makers. The two appear to be pretty well known among a few members of the fandom, that being even more the case when an extremely damning allegation would befall the two. On August 21st, 2023, a fursuit maker by the handle of Soul Smoothie would post screenshots shared with them by their partner, captioning the post with, "I didn't really know what to say last night when I found this out. I can't imagine how someone finds killing a living thing for sexual gratification okay. Acid Raincloud and Teriyaki Cat." Now, allow me to read the messages that led to them having such a reaction. Not all of our kinks are morally correct. There's just one kink I don't share with anyone because it would be upsetting. What? You dork. You can tell me. It would have to be extreme for me to be surprised, lol. And I would never judge you. Sigh. Okay, but this is a secret. And I don't want you to tell Mike, Mr. Teriyaki, that you know either, just in case. I don't think he'd be upset that I said anything, but I'm not sure, lol. That's fine. My lips are sealed. Something that Mike and I do kinda often is play with live fish. He'll fill me with water and fish, usually just one, but sometimes more. He likes the part that there's a little being inside me, part of the vor thing. Seeing them and feeling them wiggle. But also he'll fuck me while they're still in me, which feels amazing. But the thing is, they usually don't survive that part, unfortunately. I push them out into a bowl, and if any survive, they get put back in a tank and we'll use them again later. It sounds kinda harsh to the fish, but it's kinda amazing. So, in these screenshots, we have Acid Raincloud relaying how he and his partner allegedly engaged in sexual intercourse while using live fish to pleasure themselves further. Something that genuinely sounds cartoonishly evil just having heard it, let alone thinking how it would occur. So rather than trying to think on the specifications for too long, the specifications of being screwed with a living fish inside you and how a fish would apparently survive that only to be subjected to it again. Instead of focusing on that for too long, let's instead go over the reception of this post. Although it was about what you would expect for the most part, just getting caught off guard by the news that there are people out there getting their backs blown out while having fish swim up the canal. Although there were a few questions that arose as users looked on. Looking at the screenshots shared, it's not exactly hidden how old these messages are, with them being dated July 5th, 2017. That would be 6 years ago, so you would assume that this information had been sat on for just over a decade, right? I had thought the same, but I'm more inclined to believe that only a specific few were made aware of this happening, the info being spread more similarly to a rumor than a full-on call-out or artist beware post. I say this as other users replying to the post appear to have been made aware of this already, and at later dates than Soldoggo's partner, such as a user who was told about this in 2019 by someone they can't recall, and later telling their close friends in 2021 as shown in a screenshot saying, didn't rain put goldfish up coochie. But that does raise the question of why this wasn't something heavily publicized. Personally, I believe it was solely due to there not being definite enough proof behind the admission. As I said, chances are it spread similarly to a rumor, as unlike the situation with Kiro that would have happened a year after this confession, it didn't come with piles of log dumps and imagery that would disturb any sane person with eyes. All that seemed to be there at the time was a confession that went into grotesque detail, but never really revealed anything that would solidify it as an act they partake in. The thing is, there's an old adage on the internet, big if true, or more accurately, pics or didn't happen. And the closest thing to pics one could muster in this situation is a confession straight from the mouth of Rain, as it would at least be confirmed to be their Telegram account. Tangent aside, however, with the date of these messages being as old as it is, as well as Soul's partner's reaction being told this was news being a bit unconventional, people would start to look into the messenger, something I personally wouldn't condone as I don't feel they should be getting the harassment they are when they share the allegations of these people engaging in this act with their partner. It would be revealed that they were still in contact back in 2019 with this image of the two fursuiting together, but I don't exactly see where the blame of fish being killed for sexual pleasure falls onto them rather than the duo allegedly engaging in it. But I can at the very least see the argument to be made there. If someone told me they were making unconventional sushi in the bedroom, I don't think I would continue spending much time around that person, but that's just me, I suppose. Is the act wrong? Without a fucking doubt. Should this info have been outed in a much more public manner sooner? Yesn't? The primordial primate part of my brain is saying that it should be splashed across billboards aplenty, but the more analytical part of me is admittedly still a bit skeptical of it all. On one hand, you could still consider this word of mouth, word straight from the horse's mouth even though they're not a... Never mind. This is still just Rain saying this to Soul's partner without much proof of it actually being done. Some might dismiss this just because of that. Not to be contrarian, but because they'll see it as hearsay until like CCTV footage of them preparing that tuna taco hits the public. But on the other hand, even with it being considered hearsay, what would be the alternative to this? If it was meant to be some form of elaborate joke or prank, what's the purpose? What would you gain from telling a joke like this? Why is it so visually elaborate or detailed? Basically what I'm trying to get at is that even though this could be considered he said, they said, why say it to begin with? Why would you feel the need to make shit like this up if that's the case? This is something you could ask of the accusers as well, but they do detail how they're sharing this news on their business Twitter the day after their partner told them about it, saying that I would never ever post this to my business page if I wasn't being honest. That could ruin my entire reputation and my ability to provide for myself financially. This being said on a post where they would share the two statements concerning the allegations being made towards them. Statements that are pretty similarly worded, because as expected, the two would private their active social media soon after the accusations dropped, with the two posting these statements in response, telling of a full statement being in the works. You have Mr-Teriyaki's statement here, saying, I am beyond furious to have to make this statement. None of the rumors or allegations are true. I've locked my accounts due to harassment. I am beyond furious and disgusted. We do not associate with zoos and never will. We'll be preparing a full statement soon. We are already looking into legal action for defamation. Gonna be silent for the time being. I love this fandom, but I can't believe things have had to come down to this. I won't be reading them both out separately, but looking at the two statements side by side, they are obviously very similar, which isn't too surprising, I suppose. I mean, like I said in the beginning, they are married. It would make sense that they're in this together, I guess. But part of it that confuses me is how this disappoints and disgusts Acid specifically, when he is the one who says this to Souls' partner. Whether this be false or otherwise, if I straight-face joked to someone and said my partner puts fish up my ass to die because we find it hot, I can't exactly be disappointed when that person starts to announce that shit to the masses as if it's true. That'd be on me. I would have brought that on myself. But that being said, that's where the information here dries up. It has been 3 weeks since this occurred, so we're still currently waiting on Acid Raincloud and Mr-Teriyaki to release their full statements to disprove these allegations, however they plan to. In my own personal opinion, I don't know if there's any coming back from allegations such as these. If these are true, if these are genuinely things that happened between them, I don't think there are even words to describe how absolutely fucked one would have to be to not only shove live fish into yourself while getting piped, but to push them out and use them again if they somehow survived the first impact. But if this isn't what happened, I still don't think there's any coming back from an allegation such as this. But at the same time, given what we have been shown, this does appear to be a situation where they did bring it onto themselves. So I genuinely can't fathom a timeline where this turns out to be something falsified solely to defame these two. Call me cynical, but I just don't see a timeline where the two disprove this. Given the damning evidence against them is nothing more than a Telegram message sent from their account, I honestly think they'd have plenty of groundwork to disprove this if that's false, though maybe that's just the optimism kicking in. I mean, it would be nice to find out that people aren't actually shoving live fish into themselves for sexual pleasure, but I don't think that's going to be the case here. But with that, I think it's safe to conclude on that note. Many thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that usual YouTube crap, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Preferably not as seasick as I am right now. Stay safe out there.